I think there may be an opportunity if people want to ask later on. I know the Arts Council have made a quite clear of its opinion on subsidy investment and language and the importance of language. And there may be an opportunity if people want to talk about that. Turning the conversation again back to careers, but related to that idea of subsidy. Certainly, one thing that I know could be frustrating for young professionals in the arts starting off is perhaps landing that first job or that first dream job.
Yeah.
It's the idea of gaining experience, this notion that one doesn't have, perhaps one might be rejected at interview for not having enough experience, but how does one get that experience to begin with? If you speak to a lot, as I do of young professionals in the arts, one of the key things for many of them has been a period of unpaid internship at a company, perhaps once they had graduated from university, perhaps, and it's been interesting to note over the last decade or so how these periods of internship have sort of grown in length, perhaps from weeks, perhaps 10 years ago, to now perhaps months. And I wonder, this idea of subsidy, there's this opinion that in order to get on in the arts, you have to somehow, as a young professional, be subsidised in order to afford to be able to live and do these periods of unpaid internship in order to then gain experience to get a job. What's your view on unpaid internships at the moment in arts organisations? Are they a good thing, encouraging experience and developing skills? Is there a risk of taking advantage of keen, enthusiastic and bright young people who should be paid for what they do?
Yeah, I think there's a balancing act to be achieved here. Obviously, for me, there's a slight difference between work experience, if you like, and finding that you're being employed for a no pay to do a job that someone should be being paid to be done. And I think there is a balancing act there. And I think it's very difficult. I understand how difficult it is when you're starting out to get that right, because if you like, it's a buyer's market, and you're having to fit in. I think from my point of view, I'm very encouraged by those areas of the creative industries, cultural industries that are putting in quite formal processes to pay people. So, for example, we've just literally appointed 3 new apprentices in the Arts Council, and they will all be paid a wage, and we aren't having them there doing something for free. And I think that's really, really important. At the same time, there may be moments where people want to try something out and have a go at something, and there may be opportunities to volunteer. And I think that it's interesting, actually, you can get a lot of experience through volunteering in, say, a charity type setting, rather than in a more formal doing a job setting. And I think that's important. But again, I think we have to be careful that the young person isn't being taken advantage of. And I think there is a balancing act there. And I think we would want to see arts organisations being responsible employers in this basis, and actually understanding what else is there. What are the processes? What are the routes? What has been pre-agreed? Is there actually a structure to this, or are you just turning up every day? And I think that's very, very important. I understand how challenging that can be, and I think one of the things that, again, when we talk about diversity within arts and culture, we understand that if you come from a tough economic background, actually there's a real barrier there to start with. Because if you come from, I've been thinking a lot recently about what, sort of middle-class parents who have some money are able to do in their young people's lives. And effectively, when you analyse it, they make a series of interventions. You get to try the piano. If you don't like the piano, you can try the trumpet. You go to a museum on a Saturday. You go to the cinema. You go to watch the pantomime every year. Granny will take you to the library, and it keeps on going. And you're read to at bedtime, and you see books as something that happens in your life because you read them for pleasure. And all of these sorts of things, which are all artistic and cultural activities. You have paints and dressing up boxes and things like this at home, and all of these sorts of things. You might go on to drama class or ballet class or all of those sorts of things. If you're from a tough economic background, you might in your school get something that comes into your school for 1 year when you're 7 years old. The whole world of possibilities might be opened up to you at that point, and then at 8 years old the programme finishes and you move up a year and that's it. And actually, one of the things I think we need to do, we need to work out how we can do, for all young people, but particularly for talented ones, particular talent, young people who have a real aptitude that can be spotted, is how can we keep on intervening in their lives right the way through, probably till they're in their early 20s, because that's actually what people with, mums and dads who can do that do in people's lives. And I think, there's a fairness there. And again, there's a reason for doing this, because if we only draw people from a narrow sector, whatever that sector is, we're not going to be as creative, we're not going to be as innovative, we're not going to be as dynamic. And for us at the Arts Council, what we want to do all the time is invest in excellence. So whenever I talk about any of the other things that I talk about us doing, and other sort of more instrumentalist reasons for investing in art and culture, in the end, it's got to be about excellent work for everybody, whoever they are, wherever they are in the country. It's not about great art for some people who know about it and substandard art for the rest of the people. It's actually about great art and culture for absolutely everyone.